Hi, my name's Rachel and I'm from PRW Training. Today I'm just going to take you through a few hip exercises which are called clams. So we need to work the glutes specifically to be able to help strengthen the fronts, so the backs of the legs, in order to be able to let the fronts of the hips go, to be able to increase that rotation through the hip joints and to be able to allow that mobility through the ball and socket of the hip against the femur. And we also then use, this is a great way to be able to help provide stability through walking and everyday tasks where we're needing that movement through the hip joints and trying to make sure that the glutes are working effectively for us rather than gripping purely through the hip flexors. So I'm just going to get you to lie down on your side. When I was taught this exercise, I was taught my alignment should be that the shoulder, the hip and the ankle are in one straight line. I know that physios are changing their mind a little bit on this and they're bringing the feet a little bit further forward. Basically, you want to make sure that you're rotating into that hip. So wherever you can find that nice mobility and that connection through the top of the glutes, then that's absolutely fine. Go where it feels right for you, basically. So I'm going to lie down on my side and I'm just going to be nice and comfortable on my head here. So I'm using my arm for support and my stomach muscles are lifted so that I'm making sure that I'm not just collapsing into the mat, that I'm actually engaged around the core. My hips are stacked directly on top of each other, as are my shoulders, and then I can just use my hands in front just to be able to help stabilise the shoulder at the top. So we're going to inhale to prepare. As we exhale, I'm just going to feel that rotation coming into the hip and allowing the knee to float up towards the ceiling. And then as I inhale, I release back down to the floor. So we breathe out and we're feeling the hip rotating in the socket. And then we lower back down. Now the stomach muscles are keeping your nice stability all the way through. It's providing stability through the pelvis. And as I rotate up, I'm only going as far as I can keep within my own range of movement. So that might mean that I'm only going up a couple of inches. I'm not trying to throw that leg away and rotating backwards. And I'm not using my knee to lift. I'm feeling it coming from those really deep rotator muscles in the hip joint to be able to lift that knee up and then lowering it back down. And it's really nice and slow and controlled. And we're going for 10 repetitions. Up and then back down. I think we've got about 3 left. So I'm keeping those stomach muscles lifted. I'm relaxed in the neck and shoulders and just working into those deep rotators in the hip. Last one, rotating it up and then lowering it back down. Now I'm going to lift that knee up towards the ceiling using that hip, and then I'm just going to pulse gently into it. So a tiny little movement, and we're going to pulse for 20. So we're going up, 2, 3, 4. Feel that rotation. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Keep the pelvis still. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, bring the knee back down, bring it forward, just give your bum a little bit of a rub, give it a little bit of a hit. Should feel this muscle at the back of the hip joint working quite hard, and it goes quite deeply into the muscle there. We're then going to come back out. So this time I'm going to do exactly the same thing, but I'm going to float my foot 2 inches. So my stomach muscles are nicely supported here. And then I'm just going to float that foot in the air. And that just provides a little less stability through the leg. We're working that hip as we rotate up towards the ceiling and then back down. Now the hips are still stacked on top of each other. We rotate up and then back down. Breathing out as you rotate. Inhale to return back down. Squeezing up. Now you might start feeling the inside thigh a little bit because that's going to be helping keep your leg lifted and we're not collapsing into the stomach muscles. And we're just keeping the neck and shoulders nicely relaxed, rotating from the hip. Don't think of the knee lifting, think of rotating in the hip. We've got 4 more. And back down. And 3. Keep smiling through the wonderful warmth that's appearing in the top of this hip right now. And the last one. And lower it back down. And then I'm just going to bring that leg forward. Give it a little bit of a rub and shaking it out, making sure it's released. And then we've got your pulses. So floating that leg this shoulder's nicely stabilised, stomach muscles are engaged. We rotate up towards the ceiling. Now 20 little pulses. From the hip, rotating. Off we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not the knee. 7, 8, 9, 10. Nice and deep into that hip joint. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Bring it back down. Bring the leg forward. Give it a little bit of a rub and a tap. And then we're going to switch over to the other side. So, lining myself up. Shoulder, hip, ankle. Legs are nice, neck is nice and released here. Stabilised into the front of the hand. And then we're keeping those stomach muscles lifted. And then we just rotate into the top of that hip. So we breathe out as we lift up. And then we lower back down. And again, I'm trying to keep those hips directly stacked on top of each other. Thinking of that pelvis stability. That's what we're trying to aim towards. So the stomach muscles will be supporting you here. And we're just working into those deep rotators at the back of the hip. Rotating it up and back down. Try not to think of the knee. Think of it coming from the hip joint rather than lifting the leg. And we squeeze into it. And lower back down. Lower going again. And back down. 3 more. Really find that nice sensation into the back of the hip. And 2. And lower it back down. And you might find that one side's a lot more flexible than the other, and then we just bring that knee forward, give it a little bit of a rub. And because this is the second side, you will be stabilising with this leg when you're working on the opposite side. And even though it doesn't feel like it, when you start working the second side, you'll realise that you've actually been using some stability through both sides of the hips. So now we've got the pulses. We lift that knee up to the ceiling and we pulse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Keep it going. 12, 13, rotate. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Good. Bring it forward and you should start feeling a lovely warmth appearing into the top of this hip here. If you're feeling a clonk, make sure that you don't go at that far. So bring the range of movement just down a little bit. You shouldn't feel any clicking going on in the hip. If you're doing that, you've just gone a little bit too far. And as you build and you do repeat this over and over, you should get a bit more of a range of movement. But if you feel a big clonk, then just keep it a little bit further back rather than going to the point where it clicks. So now we're going to float that foot and then we rotate the leg up and lowering it back down. The stomach muscles are lifted so we're not collapsing into the floor, and lowering back down, thinking of the hip doing the work for you. Rotating and back down. Squeeze and back down, nice and slow and controlled. Doing good. We've got 4 more. The neck and shoulders are still nicely relaxed. Feeling this arm's just stabilising me. And back down. 3. Nearly there. 2. And the last one, and this hip's still right directly on top of the other one. Lowering it back down. Bringing that leg forward. Give it a little bit of a rub and a little bit of a bump. Good. And then the last one, we've got your pulses. Rotating that knee up to the ceiling and then pulse 20 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nice and deep into that hip joint. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Bring it back down, stretching it out. Give it a rub. A little bit of a hit. And then you might just want to stretch out your glutes a little bit better. I've got a good glute stretch videos on there, so go and check that one out, and I'll see you next time.